Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, with the correction of clocks, we are unusually incorrect, but it is 10 o'clock, so we're going to start. And I'd like to say welcome to Breckland Planning for today. And we'll start off with the agenda item number 1, which is the minutes, and that's to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of September 2025. And do I have your authority to sign those off as correct? Thank you. There we go, Julie. That's your bit. Thank you. In fact, I went charging ahead there, didn't I? Just wanted to get that piece of paper out of the way. But first of all, could I just start with my general housekeeping? I just wanted to get that bit. I'm surrounded by paper this morning. Can I just first of all start with fire exits? 2 quite clearly marked here. There's no tests today, or at least I haven't been notified of one, so we will treat a fire alarm as genuine. There's also, if you are under the lavatories, there's one at the end of that corridor, and there's the one as you come in. Could I ask you to switch your phones off or to silent, or any of your devices? If they do go off, it's a £10 fine to the chairman's charity, which is Councillor Sam Taylor, who's here at the end. Sam, just tell us that again. I know what I'm... Yes, please. Right, Nelson's Journey and Chapel Green School. So you'll fine. You can carry on your business, and your money will go to a good cause. You'll upset the hell out of me, but don't worry about me. A procedure: when the item is raised, I will call you, and you can come and sit where these ladies and gentlemen are sitting here now. I thought that'd make you smile at least. And the officer will give the presentation, and then it's up to questions from the members, and then we'll take the vote. Introduction of my team this morning. On my left-hand side, can't be without him, it's Mike Horn, who's our solicitor of the council. We have Gemma Manthorpe at the far end, who's our planning policy manager. My right-hand woman, Rebecca Collins, who's the head honcho of the planning department. Chris Hobson, who's one of our principal planning officers. We've also got Julie Britton, who's Democratic Services, to make sure we're all correct and minuted. And also Chris Fitzgerald at the far end, who you saw as you entered, who is our usher for today, but also one of our planning officers. Okay, thanks. So that's it. So we will charge ahead to item number 2, which is apologies and substitutes. Do we have any, Julie?
Yes, we do actually. Thank you, Chairman. We have apologies from Councillor Attewell, Councillor Bambridge and Councillor Bowes, and substitutes in attendance are Councillor Peter Bate, Councillor Linda Monument and Councillor Jacob Morton.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to those councillors who have stepped in, especially Jacob. I know you've had a bit of a rush job to get here, but we do appreciate you being here. Thank you. Declarations of interest and representations received on item 3. I will take them as each item is raised. Item 4, chairman's announcements. We have a panel on December the 19th that we still require a couple of members for. So if you can have a look at your calendars and see if you can help me out on that particular one. Let's take this opportunity also to raise and have it minuted. I know we keep going over it, but just a special thanks to everyone who took part in our planning event in Thetford. I'm going to call it an event because it sounds so much nicer. There was a lot of work beforehand, a lot behind the scenes. I don't think in all my time I've had so many meetings online and in the office to make sure that the day would go smoothly. The venue itself was comparatively acceptable, apart from the fact I always felt like I was in the back of the room somewhere because I wasn't straight on, so I was sort of leaning over all the time, and also I didn't get on the telly, which most of you other ones did, which is very unfortunate. But I did get my hand, so I feel like Joey off Friends, who had a hand double. You need to know Friends to know that joke. But great thanks to all the staff as well who chased around like crazy and made sure everything was right, and made sure we had some nice biscuits as well, which is always a good thing. Well done, Julie. And all the other ones behind the scenes, especially the security guy and his detail. And obviously special thanks to Rebecca, which I have mentioned before, because I know she's worked very extensively on that particular item. and also to Mike Horn, whose I felt his direction was very acceptable, very to the point, without leading us, and I do appreciate his input. I really do. Okay, so with that, yes, I know you need to know because you haven't heard for quite a while. It is 58 sleeps to centre. Okay, so you've got 58 sleeps. So there you go. Okay, item 5, request to defer applications included in this agenda? None at all. Items of urgent business, 6? No, we're not. So we will go to item 7, which are local plan update, and we hand over to Gemma, please. Gemma Mansell, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Hello. So the local plan Reg 18 consultation went to Special Cabinet on the 20th of October, where it was voted to approve that version of the plan with minor typos and modifications to go out for Regulation 18 consultation for a period of no less than 6 weeks, starting on the 31st of October. So this Friday, the local plan Reg 18 consultation is open, and that's the stage where people can formally comment on this version of the local plan. The Reg 18 that went to Cabinet is still live if anyone would like to have a look in advance, as are the maps with the site-specific allocations that we are proposing to take forward as allocations, and the further information will be published on Monday, and comms will be going out, letting everybody know when we are in their town, when we're here, and the events that we're planning to try and reach as many people as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. No questions at all? Okay, terrific, thank you. So we go on to deferred applications, item 8, and we've got an item for Kenninghall, land at Banham Road, reference PL 2025-0628. And we have a list of speakers who are here. I'll just check you all off. Ashley Barham? Yes, you're here, sir. Good. Alison Holman? Yes, you're here. Good. Martin Howe? Yes, Martin's here. Good. And Jeremy Hurlston? Okay, thank you. And we've got a written statement also from Councillor Marion Chapman-Allen. Okay, thanks. I'm going to hand over to Chris Hobson to give the presentation. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, members of the committee. So we're at item 8A in Kenninghall. There's a couple of matters just to delve into quickly before we go into the main presentation. As the Chairman mentioned, we have a statement from the ward member, Marion Chapman-Allen. We've also had further comments since the report pack from a neighbouring resident. So those refer to further highways issues. So those are dealt with in detail in the report pack. So I'll refer to those when going through the presentation, but those comments just highlight the importance of highways issues on this application. Those comments of the Highways Authority as a statutory consultee and expert in this part of the scheme, but also a request that those comments are given due regard when making a decision on the application. So that was just some further comments since the report pack was published. Going to the ward member's statement. So she unfortunately can't make today's committee, but has asked for a statement to be read out on her behalf. So I'll just read that out for you. I would like to concur with the Parish Council's unanimous support for the application. I visited the site once again and would like to make the following observations to the committee. This site is a brownfield site, and Banham Road is just one of 6 roads from the village centre. The Highways report states excess speeds take place along the road. I wish the excess speeds in my village were as low as stated in this report. The information I have is only of one accident that has occurred in the last 10 years, which involved a car coming from Banham to the north, too fast around the bend, hitting an oncoming vehicle. Nothing to do with the houses and accesses in this location. There are 25 houses and properties of mixed size and age in this area, And this area is not a hamlet, but houses and a farm that has evolved over a number of years and decades. I cannot agree with the highways on their usual MPPF, safe and sustainable access for all people, and the encouragement and the importance of being able to make safe and sustainable journeys every day without reliance on a motor car. Obviously, this is prepared by officers who live in towns and cities with no experience of living in the rural areas of Norfolk, many of whom, including my village, have no bus services, and they rely heavily on the car. I don't expect anyone in this area of homes walks into the village centre. It's over a mile to carry heavy shopping. No problem. This insistence of walking or cycling instead of driving is tedious, to say the least. In my village of Garboldisham, the village is cut in two by two trunk roads, and I know of no one who would walk along either of those. There are no footpaths or pavements. Policy How 5 of the local plan is not applicable, as this site is within a cluster of homes and houses. There has historically always been an access to the road on the site, and the applicant has put in an improved access. In terms of the access objection, some of the adjoining houses do not have accesses with good visibility, so the access demands made by the Highways Authority should be measured against the other homes in this area. We all know that the Highways Authority, in order of safety, will do their utmost to raise objections on visibility displays. This property is a self-built home by a local man. Breckland, as you know, is woefully short of self-built homes, so this would help to address this shortfall. There are 7 comments, 1 in support, so only 6 objecting, and that's from an area of 25 homes, hardly an overwhelming majority. The proposals meet policy Gen 02 in terms of high quality design, ecology, the per dwelling tariff for Norfolk Rams, but biodiversity mitigation measures could be conditioned. The applicant is very aware of biodiversity, which is why he wishes to develop the land and improve the area with the planting of trees, hedgerows to support wildlife and keep its rural appearance. There is a little risk of flooding as the site sits higher than the sea road and the fields opposite. So Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to put my reasons forward for supporting this application. Thank you. So just go into presentation. So we're dealing with an application for full consent for a self-built dwelling and detached garage. So we can see the site there quickly on the aerial. We can make the site there between the built form of the dwellings. Great. So the site's here. You can see an access there at the moment to the field. So I'll just touch on kind of where we sit in terms of a location. There you can see the red edge of the application site. So we sit in a kind of string of properties along the southern edge of Banham Road. There we've got the access to Marsham Farm, which is a right-of-way as well. Banham Road runs along the western side of the site. Residential homes along here in both directions. Open fields beyond. So that's that broader context. So the village of Kenninghall here, so the settlement just here. So the site is approximately 230 metres from the settlement boundary of Kenninghall. Banham Road obviously running along here to village of Banham. So you get the zoo here, that western edge. And that site sits about, well, in excess of 1.5 kilometres from the settlement of Banham here. You can see the character of the area. We've got farms to the southwest. See the rural context there. Bit of a closer up there, we can see obviously the application site here, relationship to homes here and open fields beyond. And here's the proposal. So, as mentioned, it seeks consent for a self-build home. Here we have the home here, largely within the centre of the site. The proposals include a detached garage here to that southern edge, planting and landscaping around the boundaries. With that access, so a new access here. There's existing field access roughly in this location here. We'll show some photos in a minute to show you. So there's the proposed new access. As I say, we've got a mixture of homes here, single two-storey dwellings. Again, we'll see some photographs of those in a moment. Proposals here. So this is a two-storey detached dwelling to be faced in brick and Norfolk pantiles. So a 4-bed unit. We've got a single-storey element coming here to the side. And there's those floor plans. So a 4-bed unit. We can see additional games room at ground floor, 4 beds at first floor, home office. In terms of the garage, so similar kind of architectural style, materials, etc. So that would be located forward of the dwelling, adjacent to a neighbour's outbuilding to the south. And you'll see from the report that this application is a subsequent submission of a previously refused application. Within the report, that sets out on pages 9 to 10 the reasons for refusal. I'll come onto those in a moment, but you can see the scheme's largely the same. The garage has been separated from the main house, so there you can see it adjoined the house originally. It's now moved to the side along here, but principally in terms of the kind of appearance, design, scale, largely the same. So just going back to the site, so we talked about kind of accesses in the site and the built form. We can see the site here, and there's that field access here, adjacent farm cottages here. There's the right-of-way to Marsham Farm. And this image here is the view south towards Kenninghall. And there's that image a bit further along. We can see single-storey dwellings, an outbuilding here, 2 stories on the north side of the road. And there's the site frontage, access just off here. And there's that right-of-way and access to Marsham Farm. You get an idea of the vegetation along the boundaries here, so kind of enclosing that site. And that's the corresponding view northwards. So we can see the kind of 2-storey dwelling sitting proud there, and there's a boundary wall here that I'll mention later on, but does, when we're looking at the visibility aspects, does constrain visibility in that direction. And there's that relationship to the adjacent dwelling. So you can see an idea of the scale and design of that dwelling, but that garage sitting further forward. And the proposal's obviously sitting kind of in there towards the centre, in a detached garage roughly there. So that's kind of going back to the overall location plan. So I mean, you'll see in the report some of the consultations that's been undertaken. Members from the parish council are here today. Just quickly summarise their comments. There was support for the application. That was on the assumption that the highways matters had been resolved by NCC. As we'll come to, there's still an objection from the Highways Authority. So the Highways Authority, you'll see within the report, they previously raised objections to the previous scheme, and that reason was included as a reason in terms of the lack of sufficient visibility in both directions along Banham Road. So in terms of their comments, they still have reviewed the amended scheme, which the application has been supported by additional information. Now, having reviewed that, there's been a speed survey undertaken. They remain of the view that the site access does not provide adequate visibility in both directions. And as a result of that, the intensification of the use proposals would not provide safe access and be contrary to the policies in the local plan. The ecologists raised no objections. You'll see from the report, if we're minded to recommend approval, conditions would be secured to secure the mitigation and enhancements. From that point of view, you'll see there's no objections from the tree officer or land contamination officer. More broadly, there's three comments received from the local community. You'll see the aspects there in the report, but those raise matters of in relation to highway safety, design and scale, the impact on residential amenity, and potential impacts on ecology and wildlife. Just turning to the kind of main issues that we face with this application. You'll have come across this recently with other applications. We obviously sit in a rural location. Our policies do seek to direct such new residential development to the settlements. We sit between, as mentioned, between the settlements of Banham and Kenninghall, but still a significant distance from those. It's approximately 230 metres from the settlement boundary of Banham to the south and over a kilometre and a half from the edge of Banham to the north. So the proposals conflict with our policies Geno 1, Geno 3 and Geno 5, and HOW 3 about locating residential development immediately adjacent and within those settlements I've mentioned. And that's not where we finish at the moment. We obviously, as members know, the council at the moment can't demonstrate a 5-year supply of housing sites, so we have to consider the NPPF and the policy guidance within that. Now, when we look at that, the aspects of particularly paragraph 11D2 about the key aspects and determining applications within the presumption in favour of sustainable development, that again highlights directing these developments to sustainable locations. Now, in light of the distance to those, they are local service centres, they have adequate facilities, but due to the distance and the lack of a footpath, whether lit, a footpath or any form other than the verge, noting that officers consider the proposals are not located in a sustainable location. So the proposals conflict with both our local plan and the policies in the NPPF. We still have to have regard to the presumption for the policies in the NPPF, but in that regard, when we look at those key criteria, the NPPF highlights good quality design, as I said, location, affordable housing provision, and making effective use of land. So when we've had a look at those aspects as well, the proposals overall don't address those fully in terms of those aspects. But when we also weigh the potential enhancements and benefits socially and economically, those aren't considered to outweigh those conflicts I've just mentioned. So overall, noting the site's location, the limited gains socially and economically from a development of this size, its reliance on the motor vehicle, officers' views are it doesn't form a sustainable development, and the presumption in favour of sustainable development is not engaged. You'll also see one of the reasons relates to the design and scale and appearance. So we've had regard to the context, so I've touched briefly on the properties in the surrounding area. We've got an indication there. I touched on, that's the immediate adjoining neighbour there, a single-storey dwelling. We've got 1.5-storey dwelling next to that, but generally modest scale of properties and heights. See there's further images. So when we've looked at the scheme overall, officers' views are the scale, massing and bulk overall. The spread of building is not considered to integrate to a high degree with the surrounding area, noting the modest scales of those dwellings on the images. So it's not felt the proposals would comply with policy COMO 1 and our Breckland design guide in terms of responding to context appropriately. Turning to access matters, we've touched on there's an existing field access roughly in this location. You can see the vegetation there. So mentioned the Highways Authority's comments objecting to the application as a statutory consultee. We have to give significant regard to that. Now, obviously, the applicants have had a detailed report and consultant prepare comments and a statement on behalf of the applicant. Now, officers have had due regard to that, the comments of the Highways Authority. In that regard, we have the benefit of from a speed survey that has surveyed speeds in that area. Now, they tend to be in excess of the 40 mile per hour speed limit. We sit in an area of 40-mile-per-hour speed limit between the villages, which are 30 further south and north. But where, to give you an idea, where the Norfolk County Council have adopted guidance in terms of assessing what's appropriate for accesses and visibility displays, now based on those speed surveys, they would recommend a visibility display to the northeast of 120 metres in length, 2.4 metres back from the edge of the carriageway. Now the proposals based on the submission would provide 55.3 metres, so that's only 46% of that distance. The corresponding visibility length southwest is only 26%, so 42 metres. So the officers' views are the degree that those sit below the required threshold and guidance that Norfolk County Council use to assess visibility. Officers' views are those don't provide adequate safe access, noting officers' views that there will be an intensification. There will be, again, it's a standard approach, but a single dwelling would approximately generate about 6 movements per day. We can see the access here, noting the betterment in terms of access moving slightly further south. Still noting the degree of visibility below the guidance used by the County Council, that in officers' views there will be an intensification. You will get the associated movements of a large detached dwelling in this location. I've talked about the lack of other access to footpaths, etc. So in that regard, overall the proposals aren't considered to provide safe access and contrary to our policies in the local plan, but also in the NPPF. In terms of other matters, you'll see in terms of other reasons for refusal, we've highlighted the impacts on the Norfolk RAMs and securing mitigation towards the impacts from the recreational pressure from the development. Now, we haven't secured a legal agreement just yet, but obviously if on the basis that the recommendation was for refusal, if members are minded to take a different approach, there would clearly be an opportunity to secure that following with the authority given to officers to secure that. Similarly, in relation to the statutory requirements to deliver 10% biodiversity net gain, at the moment, officers aren't satisfied that, although we appreciate the scheme is a self-build by the applicant, we would not be able to secure that other than through a legal agreement. That's been confirmed by appeal decisions. So in the absence of that, the proposals don't provide the 10% biodiversity net gain. But again, that would be it would be possible to secure that, subject to a resolution for authority to be given to ourselves to secure that. In terms of other matters, you'll see from the previous refusal, there was a reason for refusal relating to drainage. Now, the current application has submitted further information in relation to that, so the proposals would be drained via on-site soakaway. It's been supported by sufficient infiltration testing, and officers are satisfied that the proposals are acceptable in that regard. In terms of contamination, again, further information has been submitted and officers are satisfied in that regard. So you'll see from the officer's report, there remains those 5 reasons for refusal. You see on the report, it sets out those on pages 24 and 25. But briefly, in summary, when we've looked at the application as a whole, the site remains in an unsustainable location, both in terms of its distance and degree of access and connectivity. It kind of conflicts with our policies for addressing and delivering housing and directing those to sustainable locations, and that's supported by the NPPF. But also, I've touched on the highways concerns, and those are reflective of the Highways Authority as a statutory consultee. And also, I've touched on the kind of concerns about the scale and bulk and massing of the dwelling. So accordingly, the application has been recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. We have speakers this morning. I've got, first of all, Alison Holman, who is the Chair of Kenning Hall Parish Council. You have 3 minutes, please.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Committee. As a parish council, we cannot comment on the statutory matters raised by the planning officer, but would like to comment as follows. The area may be outside the proposed settlement boundary, but the parish council feel it is not a reason for refusal for the self-build, but it will enhance that area, which is a brownfield site, and Kenninghall is currently behind on new developments within the village. With regard to the dwelling not integrating with the surrounding area, we feel it is not of an imposing size, as we have 3 other properties of similar size a few hundred yards along the road, and it does not overlook neighbouring properties. Visibility, one incident reported in recent years. We as a parish council monitor speeding in the village with 2 pieces of SAM2 equipment. We've not seen this area as an issue to be included in this exercise. We work with Norfolk County Council Highways and the police on these areas. Most residential dwellings in this rural area are reliant on vehicles. Most families these days are 2-car families and travel out of the village for their shopping. We have no other issues for the other dwellings for visibility along this road. There are lots of things against the plot, but it's only good for building, and the applicant is prepared to invest in his vision. Therefore, we ask the committee to vote for the self-build.
Thank you very much. I've got now Jeremy Hurlston, who's a highways engineer, and also for members, we've got Ashley Barham, who's the applicant, for questions, and also Martin Howe there for questions as well. You need to put your mic on. Sorry.
There's supposed to be a planning consultant here today, but he's been called away on family matters, so I've got his statement to read, which I'll go through first, and then we're on to highways.
Yep, you've got 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. The site previously contained buildings and greenhouses and was used as a nursery until the late 1980s. Old OS maps show these structures covering almost half the site, which sits within a group of 19 dwellings varying in form, age and character, including 19th century cottages, 1960 chalet bungalows and 1930s former local authority housing. There is no common theme in terms of architectural materials. Due to the absence of deliverable housing land, the local plan must be considered out of date, and paragraph 11D of the NPPF is engaged. Consequently, planning permission should be granted unless it affects an area or asset of particular importance, or any adverse impacts arising from the development would outweigh the benefits. In this case, there would be no adverse impacts which would outweigh the benefits of the scheme. The Housing and Planning Act places a statutory duty on local authorities to grant sufficient development to meet the needs of self-build and custom housing in the area. Over the last 6 years, 400 people registered on the council's self-build register, but only 218 are passed. Failure to fulfil the statutory duty is a material consideration weighing heavily in favour of the self-built development for the applicant and his family, which will help redress the council's shortfall. Any ecological concerns regarding reptiles can be addressed by a planning condition in line with UK legislation. Being only a short distance from a doctor's surgery convenience store, public house and primary school in Kenninghall, with regular and frequent bus services that can be accessed from the site, this is in a far more sustainable location than the dwelling recently approved by committee at Ivy Cottages in Bradenham. Highways. The DMRB standards county has applied to this case are written specifically for the trunk road network, where the aim is to keep high traffic volumes moving at a constant speed. Its visibility displays allow for a vehicle to accelerate from rest up to full speed without the oncoming driver slowing down at all. Norfolk's trunk roads are the A11 and A47, which have average daily flows of around 40,000 vehicles and 3,500 to 4,300 during the peak hours. This is incomparable with Banham Road, where daily flows average less than 2,000, with peak hour flows below 250. Manual for Streets 2 confirms it should be the starting point for any non-trunk roads, such as C-Class Banham Road. My very detailed access review demonstrates speeds are not constant here, so trunk road standards are pointless in terms of safety. Square peg, round hole. The data and guidance prove the relocated access visibility would be safe, as does the use of neighbouring accesses which have less visibility than is proposed. County has not even considered or mentioned the national MFS2 guidance in its responses because they say it is clear that DMRB is the applicable standard, despite us providing appeal decisions for faster, busier, higher status roads where the use of MFS2 has been accepted by inspectors. County has got this very wrong in terms of both visibility and accessibility. I will happily explain why should you have any questions in the hope that the necessary cost of an appeal can be avoided if you are still unsure. NPPF policies do not preclude this development. I hope you will support this proposal and delegate to authorities to grant planning permission subject to completion of Section 106 for payment of the GRAMs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's open to questions from members. Members got questions at all? Councillor Kybird.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Chapman Allen referred to brownfield status in the read out comments at the beginning of this application. And we've heard that the site had buildings and greenhouses to the late 1980s. So could I have an officer comment as to whether this is or is not a brownfield site? And secondly, have the normal, it would appear that the normal rules for determining self-build have not been shown to be correct in this instance.
Yeah, do you want me to go back, Chairman?
Please.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor. I think the first question was on whether the site constitutes a previously developed or a brownfield site. Now, the MPPF does include in the glossary a definition of that, and that does include it does include sites that have naturally kind of become vegetated over time. So in this regard, its officers' views that that has taken place. So irrespective of its use, we don't consider it would be a brownfield or a previously developed site. It's naturalised over time. Another aspect is to consider what that use was originally. So, for instance, agricultural uses don't tend to be previously developed land. It's not a use that falls within that. So, based on the evidence that we have regard to, we have reviewed historical photographs and our understanding from comments, etc. Officers' views are we don't consider it fits within that definition. In terms of the self-build aspect, yeah, briefly touch on that. Officers' views are this would concur if we were recommending approval. What the applicants have submitted, clearly what is set out, we consider this would be a self-build dwelling. What we do have to, as required by inspectors, is secure that through a legal agreement from an application now, rather than a condition. And that's not what that's what we don't have at the moment, but potentially if a different decision was being made, we could secure that, and we would do that usually through a unilateral undertaking. Is that the point, or was it more that, in terms of the self-build?
I think we've heard with previous applications that the applicant needs to demonstrate they have had a material input into the design process, and I don't see any evidence of that.
Yeah, so sorry, yeah. So we did secure that through this subsequent application. The applicants set out how the family had designed the scheme with their agent. So they went through the process. Now the applicants obviously submitted the previous application, same applicant, same kind of overall scheme and design, and they've submitted this application, and they've explained the design process they've gone through with their agent. So on that basis, we are satisfied that in terms of that material input, that's significant, but it has taken place.
Councillor Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Chairman. On the photographs, I didn't know, was the speed limit there 40 mile an hour or 60? It's a 40, yeah. And the access is in front of that sign on where there's a house. Is that the original? That's going to be the access, is it? Out onto that lane, and I couldn't quite see on the plans. Was the other properties on the other side using that access as well? And if that's the access, then it's obviously been used. It's been used over the years by the nursery company who was down there, because the picture of that house and the van is sitting quite far back, and I feel coming forward there'd be plenty of visibility there. But and obviously I would assume they'd keep the vegetation cut away anyway. I'm a bit concerned with the statutory consultee highways objecting, and I don't like normally to go against the statutory consultee, but I think there's a little bit of common sense got to be used here.
Would it help members if I show the access on the presentation? So was that the van you mentioned, or the vehicle? Yeah. So no. So the existing access is. existing access is there. So roughly here on this image, there's the access to Marsham Farm. So there's traffic using that one. There's obviously using that one, you've got the brick wall here, which is of concern. But yeah, existing access that's been used for the nursery. You can see that there, because that's the view the other way. Just show you the proposals. That's the wrong way. So that's the proposal. So that's a new access. And that existing is roughly where the green dot is there. And there you can see that access to Marsham Farm. And there's no properties opposite. Yeah, and there's that adjacent access.
Yeah, I understand that now. So basically, it's going to have an access cut in and displays, but not as big as what the highways are suggesting. It seems like there is room there. I can't understand why we can't have the full access they're asking for, unless it's excessive compared to others on the road. But
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Monument and then Councillor Taylor, please.
Can you put the site plan back on, please, and identify for us the farm that's been referred to several times, which I understand is to the north, but I can't quite decide which building the farm is. I'm interested in other users of accesses close to this and how much the fork of two roads there presents a problem of traffic arriving near to the site from the north or northeast that might be a problem when you're trying to get out of the site.
Oh, apologies. So, yeah. So yeah, the site access you mentioned was here, leads to Marsham Farm, so a right-of-way that runs along here to a cluster of homes here. And then there's also a separate access that leads to a farm here and further farm buildings and dwellings here. But that's the one mentioned. That's there.
Councillor Taylor, please.
Oh.
There we go. My question, actually, the ward member probably could answer better for me, and apologies for putting you on the spot. I note that it has been used. Pardon? The councillor, not Marion.
Oh, sorry,
the,
you
the
said
parish
ward member. Sorry,
Yeah, the parish.
I do apologise.
The parish ward member.
Yeah, the parish chairman.
The
Thank you.
parish chairman. The site was used previously as a nursery, so I'm assuming there was quite a lot of vehicular traffic when it was in operation. Is that the case?
I didn't know to speak first, so that's right. The Marsham's farm is not actually there. You've got properties that you're accessing through that other little road. It's not a farm. You're accessing properties, if you would show that on there again, that plan.
They go up on the other road, don't they?
Yeah, they go up to that farm on the Banham Road, further up the Banham Road. So it is purely residential properties that are coming down. Yeah, that farm is up there. That they go up through. Yeah, they're not. There's no farm traffic coming down there.
Terrific.
I think it's residential.
So there's just residential ones from that splay. The farm have served further up. Okay, any further questions at all of members? Nope, you're all happy? Good. Okay, in that case, we'll go to a vote on this item, which is at Kenning Hall, PL 2025-0628. Your officer's recommendation on this one is run of refusal. Could I have a show of hands for refusal, please? 2. And those against refusal? 8. And abstentions because you weren't in the room? That's fine, thank you. Accepted that one. Okay, from the floor then, could I have your reasons why you would like this to go forward, possibly for an approval? Anybody? No? Oh, Councillor Wilkinson,
Yeah,
just want
I'll
to jump in
try.
there.
Does it come under HOU 5 as an infill? No? Okay. Well, we consider probably then the highways access is acceptable. Yeah, that's all I can come up with really, because that's the only reason I can see what the issue is.
Councillor Taylor?
Obviously, from my part, taking into account that that land was used for vehicular access when it was working as a nursery, there is a historic precedent there that there has been traffic coming in and out of that site. So I don't see how, I'm struggling to see how highways and now saying one residential property would impact that road more than a business that was working from there. That's where I'm struggling.
Well, this is even better still. Councillor Gilbert, then Councillor Kyber.
Yeah, I don't know whether this fits as it should do, but I do not see the fact that people exceed the speed limit along that road should be taken as a reason for refusal. If people evade the speed limit, the access should be fine, as far as I'm concerned.
Councillor Kyber.
I think I'm of the view that the contribution to self-build targets has been met, and that outweighs the highways objection, which, given there's a significant cluster of buildings there, I don't see this as significantly different to any others in the vicinity.
Okay, yep, I think someone grasped the nettle there, thank you. Okay, Councillor Monument.
If I can. I'd also throw in the fact that, according to somebody who lives there, the housing around, and something else that was said, I think, by the officer, the housing around is of quite a wide variety of design, and there are 2 or 3 places nearby of similar size. So the objection to the style isn't relevant, and the overall need for properties in a place where there are already some outside the boundary surrounding this plot outweighs the objections that highways put forward.
Okay. Sorry. Mr. Horn.
No. Well, yes, but that's what I'm paid for. Okay, so let's work from the end backwards. If we look at the reasons for refusal that were given, there were 5 of them. Number 5, no suitable mitigation or unilateral undertaking. That is quite clearly remediable, and no doubt that will be forthcoming. Likewise, number 4, the unilateral undertaking concerning self-build, or that will be remedied. It is capable of remedy. It's understandable why both in respect of 4 and 5. Those haven't been forthcoming at this stage. Number 3, you as an authority have looked at what the Highway Authority has said, and you beg to disagree. That is perfectly acceptable. That is why you are here. Likewise, on reason number 2, in your opinion, you don't agree that there is too much massing and scale, particularly the last point that was raised. You look at the area and you say this is not out of place. So you beg to differ on that. And on the reason for refusal number 1, the issue here is counteracted by the fact that this is a self-build, without going into it in too much detail. So those are all perfectly reasonable and understandable. And that is your decision if you wish to vote on it.
Okay, that's fine. You've had guidance as to where we go. Was that a shush to me, or were you just holding your...
I was just wondering if you need a proposal that we approve it. Can I make that proposal that we approve?
Yes, you can do, by all means.
Subject to all those things that...
That was what I was next going to say, but you were sitting there going that, and I thought, what? I haven't said anything yet. I've been told me to shut up already. Okay. Would you like to make a proposal, Councillor Monument?
For all the reasons we've just been through, I won't list them all again, I propose that we approve the planning application before us. Thank you.
Could I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Gilbert, I saw first, sorry.
Delegating conditions.
Sorry?
Delegating conditions.
Yeah, and we will delegate conditions if you're all approval of that. Okay, fine. So let's go for a vote on this one, please, which is from the floor, which has been proposed and seconded, is that we approve this item. Could I have a show of hands for approval, please? 8, and those against? 2, and abstentions 1. Thank you. So that's still as it was. So this item is approved. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to continue. Do you feel better now, Councillor Taylor? Okay, good, good. I didn't actually see you coming back in the room, so I was quite surprised when you were sitting there. Okay, so we're going to move on to item 9A, which is at Attleborough, PL 2025-1100. And we've got Rebecca to do the presentation on this one. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. So this is construction of a new all-weather sports pitch with associated fencing, floodlight and access at Attleborough Academy. So here is the location plan on the screen for you. As you can see, Attleborough Academy is over in this location. This is their school playing fields. This is the proposed new all-weather pitch. And the leisure centre is just down here at the bottom of your screen. This is a slide just to show that the whole of the land lies within the Attleborough settlement boundary where the principle of development is supported. And then this is the aerial photograph of the site. Apologies, I pointed to the wrong building then, didn't I? There's the Attleborough Sports Centre. You can see there's an existing outdated all-weather pitch here. This is approximately the new location of the pitch, and then Attleborough Academy is down in this location. Apologies. This is the proposed site plan, so the same as the location plan that shows the location of the all-weather pitch. Here's the proposed site plan, just showing it in a bit more detail. You can see here that, and I can come on to that in a minute, that the public car parking that's available outside the front of the leisure centre for people that want to use the facility in the evenings, and we'll come on to that in a minute. And then here's the the new site arrangement with the new pitch in this corner and the potential to move the other pitches within the site around. So a new football pitch over in this location, a new rugby pitch over in this location, a new just grassed football pitches and rugby pitches, by the way. And then the potential for a cricket wicket in the middle. So it's just to show you that obviously this is building on existing school playing fields. There are existing, and we've got some photos in a minute, grassed areas and goals on that site. It's just to show that there's sufficient room within the school grounds to accommodate all the sports needs for the high school. And then we've just got a general arrangement plan and typical 3G pitch of this size for football and other sports. And then, as you'll see from the report, it's surrounded by security fencing, so it is all weather and football can be played off that. So this is the approximate location of the new 3G pitch within the site, and you can see there's the old part of the cricket wicket to be moved. And then this is actually taken from the cemetery grounds, looking back into that corner of the site where the new 3G pitch would be located. And then this is looking back to the school in the distance, and then that existing dated facility is just behind you there, and you can see the, like I say, the football goals which can be moved and accommodated within the remainder of the playing fields grounds. And then that's just another view, and there in the distance, so it would be in this corner behind this tree, and then in the distance you can see some properties over there. And then this is just to show the front of the leisure centre. The pitch would be off screen over here, and then the existing available public car parking. So this application, members, is recommended for approval. It's before you today because the council has assisted with this project for a proposal of an all-weather sports pitch at Attleborough Academy, surrounded by fencing with some floodlighting. The site is currently grassland associated with Attleborough Academy, and is currently used as sports and playing field. You'll note from the officer report that there are no statutory objections to the proposal, subject to the addition of conditions which have been listed at the end of the report, and there's no representations made from local people. In principle, the proposals are considered acceptable by local plan policies and the Attleborough neighbourhood plan, in that the site is in the settlement boundary where the principle of development is supported, but as well as COMO 4, which supports improving community leisure and community facilities. The proposals are also considered acceptable in principle in terms of the Sport England exceptions. So you'll note in the principal section of the report, the Sport England comments have gone through in detail. Sport England standards require where there's a loss or a change to football pitch provision, it meets one of 5 of the exceptions. And you'll notice that as set out in the officer report in detail, it's considered that this replacement facility will be a significant improvement, and any displacement of sports facilities can be adequately accommodated elsewhere in the site. So it's acceptable in principle in that regard as well. Access is via the existing access arrangements via the school for the school children. So for use in the day, the school children will obviously access that facility through the school and over the playing fields in the usual way that they would use their sports fields. And then out of hours, for out of hours public use, there is access, apologies, via the leisure centre. And highways have no objections to the proposals in that regard. You'll note from the officer report that 4.5 metre high fencing is proposed around the perimeter of the pitch. That is obviously relatively high for fencing. However, there are very limited vantage points where you can see the proposals from the public realm. They would be set within existing fencing that surrounds the existing playing fields, and also this picture doesn't do it justice, but there are, if I go back, this boundary tree is all along the here. This is a better one, members. So you can see that there is quite dense tree coverage along the boundary of the cemetery, which will be the key vantage point to the site. And on that basis, that there's very limited vantage points, that there is boundary trees and there is existing security fencing of that type in the immediate vicinity. then the height of the fencing is considered acceptable on that basis. Our environmental health colleagues have no objections, subject to lighting being controlled via suitably worded conditions, and information has been provided to demonstrate that the lighting would be angled down and hooding, so it is acceptable, and the lux is not as such that would have a negative impact on the surrounding area or the amenity of neighbouring properties. With regards to noise and disturbance, it is considered that in the day, the use of the all-weather pitch would be similar to the use of the playing fields by the children at the high school. And in the evening, any use of that pitch by members of the public will be controlled by conditions as suggested in the officer report in terms of hours of operation. And of course, we are in a town centre location here, nearby the town centre, nearby the facilities, the car parking, etc. So there may be some increased noise for people visiting the cemeteries, but again, that noise is likely to be heard on the backdrop of the school in use and the town centre in use. No harm is identified in terms of impact on heritage impact on heritage in terms of the conservation area or nearby listed buildings. Ecology is to be addressed by the suitably worded planning conditions that are listed at the end of your report. And the proposals will be drained by a suitable drainage system, which has been checked and approved by officers, and a condition is added in that regard. As you'll note, there's no objections from the tree officer in terms of impact on those nearby trees that we can see on the screen that are on the boundaries of the site, or in any nearby TPO trees. Of note, in the officer report, there is to be some replanting and relocation of trees, but the tree officer has overseen that scheme and is happy with the proposals. That can be done suitably without creating harm to significant trees. With regards to lighting, ecology, contamination, construction and hours operation, these are all to be conditioned and listed at the end of the report. And on this basis, members, we have recommended this one for approval.
Thank you. It's open to questions from members. Councillor Monument, please.
Just one quick question. 4.5 metres of fence sounds horrific, but I suspect that they're not as bad as they sound. Can you show us a picture of what's intended? Is it part obscure boarding and part network or something of that sort?
Yeah, it's pretty standard for a facility of this kind, because obviously you're cooking balls quite high, so it's about managing that impact between having really high fencing and the impact of that on the character of the area, and then managing balls going flying off into people visiting their loved ones at the cemetery. So it is quite high, but yeah, it will be solid at the bottom and then mesh as you go up, green, pretty standard for a facility of this kind.
Councillor Kybird, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Condition 11 requires that the lighting design strategy for biodiversity. Who actually determines whether that can be achieved?
So they will submit a scheme to us, and then we will consult our ecologists at Place Ecology, and they will determine whether that's acceptable or not. So it's just about limiting the impact for birds and local wildlife, especially at night and into the evening. But you'll also note the hours of operation condition, that will be turned off after those hours of operation.
Thank you. No further questions. Oh, Councillor Monument.
I just want to ask one more. Page 39, top of page 39 in our agendas, item 8.3 says it will be necessary to remove tree group TG01, and it sounds as if they're literally going to dig them up and plant them somewhere else. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. These trees are fairly much in their infancy, and they were planted as part of the boundary treatment for the leisure centre. So the tree officer's been out and surveyed them, and is it said they're of an age where they can be moved. These aren't the massive ones that I showed you on the boundary there. So there will be a group of trees that is transplanted somewhere else, but the tree officer is confident, providing they're looked after properly, that they can survive that.
Good. Okay. No further questions. Thank you. Okay, on this item at Attleborough PL 2025-1100, your officer's recommendation is one of approval. Could I have a show of hands, please? All right, and those against? No. Okay. That's unanimous vote, was it, Julie? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, our next item on our agenda is item 10, which is applications determined by the Director of Planning and Building Control. That's there for your, sorry, Councillor Kyburd.
Can I just declare an interest in PL 2025/1291/DCA as the landowner? Thank you.
That's fine, thank you very much. We're not into discussion on that anyway, but thank you. Item 11, appeals summary, again, there for your information. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I close this meeting so we can stop recording. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, members, just to say thank you very much for coming this morning. I know it's just another short one, but with our delegation scheme and what I'd like to say is the success of the chairman's panel in weeding out these various ones, then I think it's a system that works well. So we unfortunately cannot congregate them all into one meeting because the various developers want to get on with things. But thank you anyway, and I'm so glad that we had such a good turnout. Okay, guys, thank you very much. This meeting's closed.